Okay, so today we're going to look over the fence at our neighbors to the south. I have a few clips that pretty much sum up the state of the US right now, including one from a woman in Costa Rica who's actually been helping US citizens leave the US. Maybe it might be helpful for some of our US viewers watching here. We also have footage of police and military in Washington, D.C., the fallout from the government shutdown hitting air travel, a warning from Greg the Uber driver on TikTok talking about social media, and a US citizen trolling ICE agents to the song of Mad World. It's actually pretty funny, and the song couldn't be more fitting. Today's backdrop comes from Becky, who runs a YouTube channel called True North Road Trips. This photo is from the Yukon, and she just finished documenting her road trip to the north. I'll drop a link to their channel in the description below if you want to check out their videos. Thanks very much, Becky, for sending this over. All right, let's get into the first clip.
I don't know why no one's talking about this, but there is a mass exodus of US citizens from the United States. Look, I'm a real estate agent in Costa Rica. I help foreigners move abroad, move to Costa Rica, and make a life here. I've been getting a ton of stories from clients who are absolutely spent. I'm working with a psychiatrist who helps teenagers. And when I asked her why she wants to move to Costa Rica, she said, it's because I have lost all hope. My patients have lost hope. And what's worse is I have lost hope too. And how can I possibly be of service to someone else if I don't believe it's not going to get any better? So what she's doing is saving herself, packing up her bags, and moving abroad. This is where we are.
A lot of our US viewers are probably thinking the same thing right now. I've spoken to quite a few US citizens who said they've had enough. Some are even preparing to leave, some are already in the process, and some are already gone. And the ones who have left keep telling me the same thing. Their quality of life has drastically improved. It's not just from my interviews either. I've been getting a ton of emails from people asking me, how do I get out of the US? And I wish I had a simple answer for them. I really do. But I'm just an introverted YouTuber from Canada with a monotone voice and two loud cats. What I can say though is that there are options out there. It just takes determination and the first step to actually go through with it. Now, I don't know much about Natalia or what she does for relocation, but if you're curious, I'll leave a link to her TikTok in the description below and you can reach out to her. All right, let's move on to Washington, D.C. If you've been following my channel for a while, you probably remember this report I did on this so-called expert and what he actually said about the military presence in the US. If you don't remember, let me play it again.
Ferguson says this isn't D.C.'s first test, pointing to events like January 6th, the sniper attacks, even 9/11, and each time tourism bounced back. But some, like city economic development expert John Boyd, believes this extra security may actually help.
We think this will be a boost for tourism. The additional law enforcement presence, I think, gives comfort to a lot of folks and makes them feel more comfortable spending money in the district.
What kind of bullshit is this guy even saying? He's out here claiming that more military, more police, more ICE agents, and more National Guard presence is somehow a good thing for tourism. Seriously? This guy's completely out to lunch. And the sad part is, people are actually going to believe him, every single word of it. But in reality, Washington, D.C., and a lot of other major cities and tourist hotspots in the US are struggling right now. They're not booming, they're dead. But hey, if a so-called expert says it's fine, then it must be true, right? All right, let's take a look at what's actually happening in Washington, D.C., and what things are looking like on a daily basis.
This is what it's like living in DC now. You're just trying to go to Uniqlo and Union Station to buy pants and just talked to one of the Union Station security guards and they said it was just a fight. Made it to the Uniqlo.
The National Guard for this?
They just kicked all the kids out of the food court. Simple question, how many police departments does it take to kick some kids out of a food court? Because we counted Border Patrol Police, there was Amtrak Police, WMATA Police, Metro Police, Capitol Police, Parks Police, and the National Guard.
Seems a little bit excessive, doesn't it? After seeing all of those police, National Guard, and probably ICE just lurking wherever they are, does that look like a welcoming place for tourists? At one point, it honestly looked like there were more police than citizens. And that's what really makes you stop and think about what the United States has turned into. It's starting to look less like a democracy and more like North Korea. Let me know in the comments if you agree. And if you do agree with me and you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. Now, for those insisting on going to Kim Jong-Trump's country, you might want to think twice, especially with how bad their air travel is getting. We're a week into the US shutdown. TSA workers just got their last half paycheck, and I have a feeling the real chaos is just about to begin.
So now they're announcing they're going to shut down and do a ground stop at Chicago's O'Hare Airport because of shortage of staffing. They literally have no air traffic controllers. They're being forced to work without pay, so most of them are calling in sick. And now the airport has called a ground stop, I believe it's tomorrow, between 2 o'clock and 11 o'clock, where there will be no flights going in or out of one of the nation's largest airports. And this is all because of Mike Johnson and his government shutdown ordered by Trump because they don't want to release the files. And they want to make sure as many people as they can lose their jobs so they can call out whatever military order they're about to do. But yes, that's 2 airports in 2 days that have completely shut down. First Burbank, now O'Hare. Getting pretty hairy out there. Soon you won't be able to travel because all the airports will be shut down, and we've got military going to almost every blue big city.
I mentioned this in previous videos before. Most of us aren't going to the US, period. But some people are still flying through the US, not staying there, but just taking the cheaper flight option that includes a stopover in the US. If you ask me, that's just as risky as going there. Because on your way back to Canada, you will still have to go through CBP, then recheck in to get your next flight. It's a mess. I'm actually going to show you a clip on this just in a minute. But first, let's take a look at what's actually happening at the airports right now.
The TSA is already asking travelers to be patient, and we're only a week into the government shutdown. Now, I do think things are going to get worse next weekend. The TSA workers will get a partial check on October 10th and October 24th, if this is still going on, is when it could really get bad. That's when they'll get their first no check at all, October 24th. So some dates to keep in mind. I flew yesterday out of Greensboro. It was a pretty medium airport, right? And it was about 5 minutes longer than normal. I'm kind of curious to see what you guys have been experiencing so far out there a week into this shutdown. Thanks, guys. I'm Jet Setter Jake.
Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can save £50 per person. That's £200 off for a family of 4. Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can save £50 per person. That's £200 off for a family of 4.
I don't know why TikTok creators keep using the same audio clip. It's everywhere. Anyways, the main point is that the airports are starting to feel the pressure. TSA and ATC are starting to call in sick, and it's starting to show. Now, delays happen all the time. Sometimes it's just a few hours here and there. But those long lines you just saw in the video, they can happen, and it can happen at any time. And personally, I wouldn't want to be rushing to the next flight back to Canada with lines like that. Like Jet Setter Jay said, just wait until the TSA agents stop getting paid. That's when the real delays are going to start. Now, earlier, I mentioned how if you have a connecting flight in the US before heading home to Canada, you still have to go through CBP, pick up your bags, and recheck in. A lot of people already know this, but for those who don't, this next clip shows exactly how the process works.
The US is one of the few countries that does not allow international airside transit.
I did not know that.
Which means you can't just land and say you've got a connection. You can't stay in the airport on the other side of security and board your next flight. You actually have to go through immigration, you have to pick up your bag, and then you have to go through the whole process again and recheck it and go
all in again.
through security and back to the airport. Even if you're just making a connection and you have no plan to actually go and have a holiday in America, you will still need to get a visa or an ESTA, and the ESTAs are $21 and they are due to go up. Basically, you need time. If you've got an hour layover, I would not recommend that for America at all. There are some days I have waited at US immigration before for like 2 hours before.
Yeah.
But I have got a tip. I'll give you 3 letters, MPC.
Was it an app?
It is an app, yeah.
Oh,
so it stands
good.
for Mobile Passport Control.
Okay.
And basically it allows travellers to submit their passport and customs details via their phone, via an app. And it means that you can go into the queues that say NPC, and it means you can skip big parts of the queue. If you're going anywhere in America, just Google the name of the airport followed by NPC, and hopefully that can save you some time.
Now I got an even better tip than the NPC app. Just don't go. Book a direct flight, or at least one that doesn't include a layover in the US. I learned the lesson the hard way. This was years ago before the current shit show in the US. I was flying home to Vancouver from Tokyo, and I found a flight that connected through San Francisco. It was about $300 cheaper, so I figured why not? It'll add maybe 3 or 4 hours to the trip, but what could possibly go wrong, right? Well, we landed in San Francisco, I went through the CBP immigration, then went to go grab my luggage. Only one of the bags came out. The other one? I had no idea. The airport staff were not helpful at all. So after about 40 minutes, my missing bag finally appeared on a completely different carousel. At that point, I had maybe about an hour left before my next flight. I sprinted off to get the luggage for recheck, and of course, there was another line. Then came the TSA security, another huge line. Thankfully, my boarding pass had the TSA pre-check on it, which probably saved me about another 20 minutes. By the time I got to my gate, they were already making the boarding announcement. So the moral of the story is, even without chaos happening in the US right now, a stopover in the US on your way back to Canada, if you're going to do it, you just got to factor in a lot more time. Now, if that doesn't convince you to stay away from the US, let's hear what Greg the Uber driver has to say.
Breaking news. ICE is now going to have a 24/7 surveillance system to surveil all of our social media accounts. What? Yes, this clearly would be violating the First Amendment right if they were doing this of American citizens. They're not supposed to do it, but supposedly looking for only undocumented immigrants, but you know and I know what's going to happen. This is being designed apparently by Palantir, which is tied to Peter Thiel, who is tied to J.D. Vance and all the far-right Republicans, I'll leave it that way, who want to take over the country and run it as they see fit. Guess what? Palantir also signed a contract last year with an Israeli spyware company, Paragon, and who knows what they're doing.
So let me frame this for you. For a lot of us here in Canada, and even internationally, this might not seem like something that affects us directly. But if the US government is going to start monitoring social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, X, or even YouTube browsing habits, you'd be lying to yourself if you think they're not watching international users as well. And this is exactly why I choose to stay anonymous on this channel. Many of you who have been here for a while already know that. But for those of you who are new to my channel, this is why I don't show my face. Because if, for whatever reason, I need to go to the US, say for a medical emergency involving a friend or family member, the last thing I want is for CBP to pull me aside and say, "So, I see you run a YouTube channel called Guard the Leaf, and you called my president an orange idiot." Yeah, you can probably imagine how that conversation would go and what would happen.
Do you trust them to only use this against undocumented immigrants? I do not. We got Big Brother coming, George Orwell, and this is all under the Trump administration, Project 2025, and where is it going to stop? I see history repeating itself. We go back to Germany in the 1930s. What can you say? Loved you for my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, my burned LA bulbs. They're going to be monitoring your TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, everybody's accounts. And tell me that'll only be used against undocumented people. Right. I don't believe it a bit. Do you?
I don't buy it for a second. And I definitely don't believe that they're only going to monitor US citizens on these platforms. Social media isn't going anywhere. While a lot of false information is spread from the right, there's just as many facts being shared to counter it. But without any other international platforms available, we really don't have many alternatives at the moment. So just keep in mind, CBP and the government might not need to search your phone anymore. Just to see what your social media activity is, they might already know by the time you get to the CBP gate. Now, I'm going to leave you with this last clip, because I personally actually found it hilarious. A US citizen makes his own song about ICE, but he sang it to the tune of Mad World. I'm actually shocked he didn't get arrested. But I wanted to end this video on a bit of a lighter note, because with all the chaos going on, sometimes we just need a good laugh. Okay, I'm almost done. If you found this video helpful, hit the like and subscribe button, and share it with your friends to get this message out there. Thanks for watching, and here's the last clip.
Hell yeah! All around me are ICE agents, hate all races, except white faces. Bright and early to catch brown people. No expression, just regression. The tear gas going up their asses. No expression, no expression. And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad that ICE makes more money than all our veterans. MAGA world.